What I've just done is I've hit record using my phone, one of the great features of the Sony a7s. Using this app, I can see myself, I can control the shutter and the ISO, and on some lenses I would be able to control the aperture as well, and I can stop and start recording. It's a great little app. You can use your phone as your monitor, which I did while flying the Letus Helix Jr. I used my phone as a monitor. That's pretty cool. I can still control the camera too, which is even better than any other monitor. I can darken myself, I can lighten myself, but anyway, I'm Matt Buckman. Let's talk about the new Sony 28-135 f4 video lens. This is kind of a groundbreaking lens for us video folk. What makes this lens groundbreaking? Well, a few things. One, it has a nice long focus throw with detailed lens markings. That focus ring, you can pop forward to put the lens into autofocus mode, or you can pull it back for manual focus. The autofocus, it works pretty well. It's not a dual pixel kind of an autofocus, but it does a pretty good job. I've been playing around with it more and more. It has a nice zoom ring, which you can either put in manual mode or servo mode, both of which are very smooth. You also have your aperture on the barrel. As I mentioned, it's an f4 lens. Some of you might wish it was a 2.8 lens, but with this camera, the a7s, and its low light capabilities, its full frame sensor, you're fine with f4. You also still get, since it is a full frame sensor, really nice shallow depth of field, and it also has an optical steady shot. I found hand-holding this lens is really easy when having the optical steady shot on. It's also really great to glide with because that optical steady shot works really nice. I noticed a review on B&H claiming that this lens isn't sharp. I shot identical shots with the Canon 100-400 L series lens and the Sony 28-135, and the Sony lens is every bit as sharp and actually even a bit sharper. This lens was made for 4K productions. It's definitely sharp. You can also declick the apertures for smooth aperture transitions while shooting, which is awesome. Many of these things you just haven't gotten from the Canon L series photography lenses. These features would normally be saved for much more expensive video lenses. So to me, it's groundbreaking. I haven't been able to have something like this in this price range. This lens is often shown with the new Sony FS7 camera. However, with the a7s, because it can do full frame or APS-C crop framing, you really have a range of about 28 to 200, which is a huge range and can cover just about everything you need throughout the day. The a7s is the perfect partner for this lens. The Letus Helix Jr. I've enjoyed using this. I've had it for about a week. Letus 35 was kind enough to send me one to try out. I was excited to try out this gimbal because for me and a lot of the events we shoot, I just can't use something like the Movi. It's too distracting. It just intrudes on the day. I can't be as nimble. When I saw this come out, I was very much intrigued because this isn't any bigger than a Glidecam or anything like that. It is quite small, which is great. It's easy to hold. You can also set it down while the camera's on it. I've used it both with the battery grip and without the battery grip on the a7s. And part of this video you'll see I actually had it without the battery grip, but then I had my phone mounted on top of the camera so I could use my phone as the monitor, which was very helpful. The button on here, you can switch between small bodied cameras like the a7s without the battery grip to larger bodies, which could be the a7s with the battery grip. You can also recalibrate using the button, so if you bump it and it kind of gets off kilter, you hit the button 5 times, reset it, boom, you've recalibrated. It's really easy, and I found that to be super useful while shooting. You can switch between handheld mode, which would be using it like this, to suitcase mode, which would be like this. So in one shot, you can go from high to low all in one continuous motion, and the gimbal somehow knows what you're trying to do. Can you run with this gimbal? No, it's not that kind of thing. You'll need something else, Stedicam or perhaps a Movi. I think it could be a very interesting gimbal for event work, where you're trying to be much more discreet than you can be with something like a Movi where you're walking around like this. This is more like this. I've also been trying out some of the Loxia lenses that Zeiss produces. This one has the aperture on the barrel, just like the 28-135 lens. It's a tiny little lens, but at the same time, it does have a pretty nice long focus throw. The aperture's on the barrel, so it is very video friendly, and I really like the look of it. I've also been trying out the lenses Rokinon makes for the a7s, for the full frame, mirrorless Sony bodies. My feelings are mixed on them. This one happens to be the 14. I wasn't super impressed with this lens because the barrel markings seem to be fairly far off from what's actually going on in the lens. I've used the 24, that one I actually did like a lot. So I think going forward, that's the one I would probably use more often than this 14. If you're looking for something really wide with minimal distortion, this doesn't do a bad job. I've tried this year to switch away from Canon lenses. We sold all our Canon lenses, and the reason for that was I hated the Metabones adapter. It just too many issues, and I got tired of it. And so we sold off all our Canon lenses and decided we're going with Sony lenses, or lenses that work with the a7s directly, is what we're going to do. I don't have anything with a long zoom yet. Your options would be Sony A-mount lenses and then use the adapter Sony makes. That adapter works flawlessly, unlike a Metabones adapter. So we've opted to do that most of the time if we're looking for something in the 300 to 400 millimeter range. I'd like to share just a few more thoughts on the a7s after using it for 9 months. For me, this is the perfect camera. There are very few things that I don't like about it, and it's the first camera I've had where I wasn't clamoring to get whatever the next new camera is. Like, I'm happy with this camera. There's nothing I feel like I'm missing that I'm wanting. Someday I might want 4K in camera, but at the moment I don't shoot 4K. Not very often, at least. So this camera is perfect for me. The combination of this lens and this body, this is the greatest combination I've found since shooting. If you have any questions about either the a7s, about the 28-135, about the Helix Jr, even about these Rokinons or the Zeiss Loxia line of lenses, hit me up. I feel like I know them all pretty well by this point. I'm going to use my camera, or my phone right now, to stop the recording. All right? So long.